How was the experience in Brazil, guys?
Well, we love Brazil. We're lucky. Did you have fun in Brazil?
Tony, if there was one word to describe your experience in Rio, what word would that be?
That's tough. Finished? No, I guess satisfaction. I am actually very satisfied with how I prepared for Rio, and even how I delivered at Rio. It's not the result I wanted, but I am actually satisfied with the way I fought and the way I prepared, and it was a nice end to my career to be there, to be competing in front of my family, to know that I've done everything possible to prepare for Rio and to do what I did at Rio. Okay, Brittany, we're going to get one all together now. Brittany.
That's awesome. Okay, Brittany, come here.
Levi here. And the family photo.
We're here, Takahashi Dojo in Ottawa. It's Sunday morning. It's 8:37, and I believe you're training this morning.
Yeah. I may be retired from competition, but I still have fighters that I need to coach and prepare. And myself, I need to stay in shape. And judo is a lifelong sport and a lifelong endeavor. And just because I'm done on the competition side of it, I still have a tremendous amount to learn in judo and to grow in judo. And I still have a lot of goals left in judo to accomplish.
Let's jump to Rio. Lead us through your match, how you felt, and what happened.
Okay, well, we got the draws a couple of days before we competed, and I found out I was fighting Argentina. Jorge is a very, very strong fighter. He won the Pan American Championships last year. I've trained with him a few times in the past, and I knew what type of fighter he was. So we had a couple of days to prepare for him. He's a much shorter fighter than I am and a much thicker person. So we knew that there's some of my strong techniques we'll have to avoid because he can get underneath and lift me up. So our goal was to try to take him to the ground. The match started off really good. In the first 30 seconds, he was penalized for illegal gripping, and in the first 2 minutes of the fight, I had the stronger and the better attacks, and I was winning the match by penalty. And he got a low grip on me and dropped under with a Yoko Otoshi and scored. They called it Wazari to begin with, and then they changed the score down to Yuko. But on the ground, he had locked me up, and he was physically a lot stronger than he had been in the past on the ground, and I was unable to get out of his position on the ground, and he ended up winning the match. But I felt really good in the match, and I made the one mistake that allowed him to get a lower grip and drop under me. But I was not outmatched. I lost the match, but I had ample opportunity to win the match as well. So I was quite happy with the way I fought him.
There was also, I believe...
Sorry about that.
No worries. How far did Jorge get into the...
He ended up in 7th place. He lost to the gold medalist in the next round. And then in the rapid charge final, he lost to the eventual bronze medalist from Uzbekistan. And the Uzbekistani ended up beating the Cuban in a bronze medal match, the defending Paralympic champion, in the first 20 seconds. So Jorge, the 90 kilo division that I fought in was stacked. If you look at the medalist, only one person from 2012 that medaled ended up in the medals, and all 4 medalists from 2012 were in the division, and only one of them ended up back on the podium, and that was D'Artagnan Crockett of the United States.
As far as Jorge, I read somewhere online that there was a doping. Do you want to talk about that, or?
That's fine. I ended up having the distinction or the luck to compete against the only person at these Paralympics that was tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, and he was suspended and kicked out of the games 2 days after our competition. He was caught with an anabolic type steroid in his system. It's unfortunate that I had the luck of fighting him, but the last 2 months, or the month and a half, I've gotten a lot of, I feel bad for you, I feel sorry for you, you must be frustrated. And in the end, I'm not. I was not frustrated. I was upset for maybe 10 minutes. And the reason is doesn't matter if he was using performance-enhancing drugs or not. I had to beat him. The Georgian who he fought in the next round, beat him. The Uzbekistani who he fought in the repechage final, beat him. So I had to beat him. I didn't beat him. I was beating him when he caught me. I feel sorry for him more than anything else because he's gone to 6 major games, 3 able-bodied Olympics, 3 Paralympics. He has Paralympic medals. I mean, he has an amazing career, and his whole career is down the toilet now. His whole career is tainted because of this.
Now, we know that PEDs are common in a lot of sports, obviously in contact and combat sports. As far as judo, can you give us, from your experience and from what you know, are PEDs common in this sport?
Performance-enhancing drugs in judo is very, very uncommon. It's very rare that somebody in judo gets caught with performance-enhancing drug. Sometimes you get caught with some technicality stuff, like inhalers for asthma people going a little bit above their prescription. There's been a few instances of marijuana use in competition, like the night before. That happened in 2012 with an American 73-kiloer. But actual anabolic steroids or actual doping is very, very rare at the Olympic level or the Paralympic level. We're tested too often. So it was a shock that Jorge Lucinda was caught with anything, let alone an anabolic. So we don't see it often at all in judo.
So we had a really good time in Brazil. We were lucky because we have a friend who was able to arrange a lot of stuff with us. I went to the opening ceremonies with my in-laws, and that was really it was an amazing experience. They put on a great show, and it was just very emotional to be there. And then, of course, we went and saw Tony's competition day, which was emotionally hard for me, but I'm very glad that we were there for him during that time.
How was? Can you elaborate as to the opening ceremony? You mentioned it was emotional. How was it emotional? What did you see? And
well, a lot of the performers had various disabilities. There was a set of blind dancers that did a performance that I didn't even realize they were blind until I read about online later on. And just for some reason, when the parade of athletes started, I just welled up. So just knowing that there are all these people who put in all the effort and time, just like my husband had, and that they were there on the world stage was just, it touched me.
I saw it as well, like obviously on television, and it was amazing. And I think the fact that you were there live seeing it was probably even more. I
think it more immediate, absolutely. There, yes, Eva, I love you in Britain. Now, can you please go and practice your judo? Boom. Okay.
Speak to us about Tony pre-fight and post-fight.
Well, I have to admit, I mean, he left on September 2nd, and we went to the Athletes Village. We actually didn't see him until after the competition. We were in the stands, and he was, backstage, as it were. Post-competition, I mean, it was definitely low energy. He was very happy to see it. Like, he was able to come out and see us, and he was happy to spend time with us, obviously. But I think that he'd obviously hoped to place higher, and in the immediate aftermath is kind of like that adrenaline rush is just kind of leaves your body and that. But we saw him the next day, and we actually were fortunate enough to spend 2 days with him in Brazil, and by then he had I guess refocused. It was all time to move on and spend time with the family and look towards the future of coaching and the kids. I don't know if Tony told you, he probably did, but Eva started judo with the kids class, and so she's very much enjoying it, and we're now in a much different, I shouldn't say a much different, we're in a different schedule, but there's still a lot of judo.
Moving on now to your training partner, sorry, not your training partner, but your fellow teammate in Rio. Do you want to tell us about Priscilla Gagne and how she did during the competitions?
Priscilla did amazing. She ended up in 5th place. In the first round, she had a very strong opponent, and she lost on penalties. She got a Shido in the first minute of the match from non-combativity, and it was, depending on who you ask, whether a warranted Shido or not. From the description of the match that I heard and the description of the match that I was able to see in video afterwards, she deserved the penalty, but her opponent as well deserved a penalty later in the match. But she ended up losing by Shido and then moved into the repechage. In a repechage, she ended up fighting the Ukrainian. This was not the number one Ukrainian. The number one Ukrainian, who was ranked number 1 in the world, had to withdraw from the competition 2 months previous. She's pregnant. So she ended up fighting the number 2 Ukrainian, and she beat the the Ukrainian in the first 2 minutes of the match. She dominated her, and Priscilla won that match and advanced to the bronze medal match. In the bronze medal match, she fought Uzbekistan, who was a very, very strong competitor who moved down from 63 kilos down to 52 kilos for this event. And she fought her really, really well. There was no score in the match with under a minute to go. And then the Uzbekistani caught Priscilla for a Yuko within the last 40 seconds. And Priscilla just couldn't catch that score back. So she ended up losing the bronze medal by Yuko. But she had every opportunity to win that match as well. She fought 3 matches, and each one of those matches she was either ahead or she was in the position to win those matches. So she fought tremendous. She will be and is a medal threat going forward in every competition she competes in.
How was the experience overall in being in Brazil during this major international worldwide event? Speak to us about that, and any funny stories you have to share about. I'm sure there's all sorts of. Just give us a story.
Well, I'm not sure how many of my stories I can tell you on the podcast, because actually Brazil was a phenomenal experience. I got to be there with my family, my parents, my wife, my kids were all in Brazil for this event, so I got to spend 2 days with them, so that was just a phenomenal experience too. Knowing that they were in the audience when I was competing and preparing was also amazing. The village was, I'm not going to say great, because it wasn't great. The village could have been of higher quality. A lot of things were rushed, a lot of corners were cut, but the Brazilian people did everything they could to try to make our time in Brazil very memorable, and it was. The Canadian staff were phenomenal. Any place that we had shortcomings in the accommodations within the village, the Canadian Paralympic staff tried to make up for it. They made sure we had fresh fruit and vegetables when the dining hall started to get a little short on them. They made sure we had everything we needed to prepare and compete, and the comforts of home. Like, they brought us Tim Hortons coffee from Canada, so we had a lot of stuff that we needed. So
wait a minute, straight from Canada?
Well, they brought the pods.
Oh, I'm kidding.
They brought Tim Hortons pods, and we had one of those pod machines to make coffee. But we had a lot of the comforts of home, and we had great staff, and we had phenomenal people in Brazil that were, like, the people of Brazil were just great to us. As far as stories go, there was just some amazing times with the teams. Actually, a funny story. So there's a Romanian competitor in 60 kilos, 20-year-old Alex. He's a phenomenal young competitor, and he ended up with a bronze medal in Rio. He's totally blind, B1, and I had brought in a gift over for him. One of the colored mobility canes. Normally, mobility cane is white and red, but there's some carbon fiber ones they make here in North America that don't ship anywhere outside North America. So I brought him over a nice blue one, and it was up in my room. My room was on the 13th floor in our village. They came over to our area of the village and were chatting with us. And it was the last day they were there, so they were flying out later that day. So I was going to get the cane, and power went out in our building. So me being a blind person, up 13 flights of stairs to get this cane out of the room for him, then down 13 flights of stairs, and collapsed on the couch in the bottom of the 13 in the mezzanine with them and chatting and giving him his gift. And then they get up and they leave to go back to Earth. And 1 minute after they leave, power comes back on. So I got quite a workout after the competition was over, up and down 13 flights of stairs. So that's for me, that was good exercise. So I think I might get some of my guys here to now start running stairs.
Now, Tony, I know there's a long list of people you want to thank. Please tell us who you want to thank and any closing statements.
Well, I want to say that you Garmamie, have watched my journey over the last 3.5, 4 years to Rio. I've actually really enjoyed the preparation and the journey to Rio. Like all the training I've done, all the hard work I've done. I'm actually very proud of my accomplishment. I'm 43 years old. I have a full-time job. As you can hear in the background, I've got 2 young children. To be able to do what I did, I know was a tremendous accomplishment. I could not have done it without the support of course, my wonderful wife, Jacqueline, my family, the club, Takahashi Dojo, the training partners I have, and my coach, Andres Sadaj. Without those people, Rio would not have been possible for me. So I'd like to say thank you to all of them. Thank you to my sponsor, Matsuru, and thank you to you, Garmamie, for coming on the journey with me.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, and you're going to look right at the camera.
Halloween is tomorrow. I'm very excited for it. Michael's my favorite costume.
What's your favorite costume?
Batgirl.
That was for you for Halloween. What are you wearing right now?
I have my new dragon, Judoka, and it's scary.
The dragon's really scary?
Yeah.
Why do you have a dragon, Judoka?
Because my old one grew out, and my brother has my old one, so now I have my new one.
And what do you do in your judoka?
I play judo.
With who?
Daddy.
And what's your daddy's name?
Daddy Walby.